Berg, what are your thoughts on it?
Look, I think this is a real threat to the open internet. I'm really concerned about the language that's been used that basically speaks to protecting the safety and security of the American people by actively monitoring network traffic and making decisions about what network traffic is and isn't allowed to be transmitted across the open internet. It's the first time that I think in the United States, we are seeing like a real threat and a real set of behaviors from our government that looks and feels a lot like what goes on in China and elsewhere, where they operate with a closed internet, an internet that's controlled, monitored, observed, tracked, and gates are decided by some set of administrators on what is and isn't appropriate. And the language is always the same. It's for safety and security of the people. The entire purpose of the internet is that it did not have bounds, that it did not have governments, that it did not have controls, that it did not have systems that are politically and economically influenced, that the architecture of the internet was and always would be open. The protocols are open. The transmission of data on that network would be open. And as a result, all people around the world would have access to information of their choosing. And it allowed ultimate freedom of choice. You know, this kind of is the first of what I'm concerned creates a precedent that ultimately leads to a very slippery slope. Saying that TikTok cannot make money in the US by charging advertisers or managing commerce flows is one thing. That's where the government can and should and could, if they chose to, have a role. But I think going in and observing, tracking internet traffic and making decisions about what is and isn't appropriate for people, I think is one of the things that we all should be most concerned about what's going on right now. There is no end in sight to this if you allow this to happen in the first time. You know, VPNs, virtual private networks, allow you to anonymously access internet traffic and access internet traffic via remote destinations so that the ultimate consumption of content that you're using can't be tracked and monitored by local agencies or ISPs. And I think that saying that that can now be restricted takes away all ability to have true privacy and all rights to privacy on the open internet. So I'd love to talk about this more. Unfortunately, I got to run. But
right, great seeing
this
you.
is a super threat to me. And I think this is something we should be super, super concerned about, and that the entire community of technology, internet, and anyone that wants to have, you know, freedom of choice steps up and says, this is totally inappropriate and overreach.
Yeah.
There are other ways to manage stuff like this.
Feels like complete overreach, Sacks.